Hello there, I'm Colton Snyder, and this is Colton's Connections podcast show. Today we have a special guest with us, Carla Glosser. She is a paranormal investigator.
Yes.
I should say probably retired paranormal investigator now.
Yeah.
Except if you're hanging with me.
For the most part, yeah.
So what brings you here today? Paranormal
investigation because I don't do them that much anymore.
Yeah.
Just for different reasons, and you've got a house though I'm interested in.
Very interested in. I want to, because I know a lot of these people are going to know who you are because of your husband. I mean,
Eric.
So many people. I was shocked though. Like, you're a little famous. I don't know if you realize that, but you are.
Everyone remembers me from Ghost Adventures and the lady who held the dog.
Oh,
because
nice.
Shaq was, I think, Zach Baggins called him a dog mail meter.
Really?
Because if we were on an investigation and Shaq was alert and he was shaken, there was something there.
Kind of like your dog, but your dog more barks at the ghost than.
And if he was laying down snoozing and he just was so relaxed and comfortable, move to another room because there is nothing going on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I have some friends. They bought tickets to come to Conso because I got a lot of famous people coming up. Did you see that?
No,
I got like over 77 celebrities coming up.
Wow, that'd be great.
All paranormal people, so they're gonna be fun. But they're like, some people are like, is Eric Glosser gonna be there? And I had told them that he passed. They're like, well, we really liked his wife Carla. Is that her name? And I'm like, yeah, I'm shocked you know that, but yeah, that is her name.
Yeah. We went to a lot of different conferences and met a lot of people, and it's not that I don't want to. United Paranormal Project, we've handed it off. Eric had a person on our team, Sam Taylor, that he groomed and handed it over to pretty much. So Sam runs it, and they've gone in a different direction with some residential different things and all that they're doing, and they still go places and stuff, but it's not it's not what Eric was doing. He kept telling everyone that there was so much at Twin City Opera House. The director there, Adam Shriver, he kept telling him, it's just going to take a little bit. It's just going to take a little bit. And sure enough, we finally got Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne and Katrina Weedman out there. And the stuff that went on while they were there was amazing. Yeah. I mean, it just made everything.
And people didn't really realize you guys were the reason why they were there. You're a reason for why a lot of your husband, he was so good at bringing in all these different TV type people.
He had, and that's, I started all that because I started going to paranormal things, and it made me realize a lot of things from when I was young. People would tell me, that's not real. Things that I would see or things that I would think was going on.
Yeah.
Or something like that. They would say,
do you want to do like a timeline thing? So what was like your first paranormal experience? Or was there so many you can't really...
I don't know that I paid a lot of attention to them as I got older, but when I was really young, I could see different people and things. And I would try and tell my parents that I could see something. That's not real. That's not, And so, I think everyone has somewhat sense if they would just tap into it. But we grow up with people telling us all the time, that's not real. You start to believe it. And then I moved to Ohio, and the house that I was living in had someone else living in it.
Wow.
There was a teacher.
So you're from Texas.
Yes.
From Texas. Did you meet Eric in Texas?
No.
Okay.
So I met him after I moved here.
Okay, got it. We're on the timeline just fine.
Yeah. So Eric was doing a talk or something out at Brindy Mansion in Granville, where we used to do a lot of paranormal events and stuff like that too. And so I went to that and met him there. The person that was in the house was a teacher who had owned the house, and she had died there, but because she traveled so much, no one realized that she wasn't there until she didn't show up here, she didn't show up there, and so someone couldn't get a hold of her. They checked, and she had had a heart attack or something, and she passed away.
Wow.
In the house. So there were so many things that happened there too. My son was failing a course, and the shelves that were in the kitchen, there was a cabinet below it. If a book were to fall off of this shelf, it would have to fall on this cabinet. There's no way it could go out and hit the floor because there was this much room between the end of the cabinet and because there were drawers and stuff before you got to the floor.
So scientifically, the book should have landed on the table.
Or on the cabinet.
On the cabinet.
And we had these books, just how to do English, just like an encyclopedia type
random books.
And they were on that shelf. And he was failing his English. He hadn't got a paper turned in. And I'd gotten tickets to this event that Eric was going to be at. And I told him, you get to go to the second one with me if you get this paper turned in. And he wasn't doing it. All of a sudden, this book, and it was the one for English and writing whatever theme, what he was supposed to be getting done, came off of that shelf, past the cabinet, and about 3 feet out into the floor.
Wow.
It scared his dad so bad. He came running out. They thought someone was in the house.
Wow.
And he actually came out
armed. So that had to have been like a good spirit saying, basically, get your shit done, right?
Yeah. But, of course, it was the English book too, and it opened to something that he needed direction on, what he was supposed to be doing. He called me the next day, was telling me about it. Mom, and I said, well, you're down there in that space where she passed away. You gotta figure she's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
So
good to know she was on your side. Like your kids.
Oh yeah, she was a teacher.
I'll help you.
So I went to this first event that was out at Brendu. It was a public investigation, and Eric and I had talked via email a little bit, and then when I met him, he stayed in our group, and he always tells the story. Excuse me. He always tells the story how I did it on purpose. I had borrowed a meter, an EMF meter from him, and I swear I thought I gave it back, but I ended up going home with it. And so I had to contact him and let him know I had it. And so we met up after that and just kind of snowballed from there.
Wow. So if you hadn't taken that meter,
I don't know that I would have seen him again.
Wow.
And we started talking, and
you should have stolen one of my, we're still friends.
You're a little young.
One of my crazy outfits.
But yeah, and then I moved in with him, I guess, about 3 or 4 months after that, and just really started doing a lot of the paranormal things. And he used to call me a ghost magnet.
I believe that. I've seen that.
I used to wear my hair really short and spiky, and all the time I could feel a spirit on top of my head doing this to my hair. The team was at a place one time, it was called Two Bear Farm, and they'd had all of this stuff go on. And we have so much evidence from that place, it was just crazy. But I had stayed in an upstairs area. The caretaker was there showing us around. And so I went down the stairs, and I was the last one coming around a corner. And one of our other team members, Meg, was about 3 steps up. And we heard a whistle and a hey. And she turned around and looked at me. And I looked at her. And I said, did you hear that? And she goes, that wasn't you. I'm like, no. So, and yeah, the spirit was definitely there for that one. And I got to the point, though, I didn't like going to some places. There was one time that I there are black holes. They are real. I went through.
I didn't know what a black hole was until you explained me the whole boat story. Can you explain what
it's
it
like
is?
it's just a different dimension. It's proven that there are other dimensions and stuff. A black hole is just a portal or something that you can step through. And I was with a friend. We were at Nemacola Castle. We were on the 3rd floor, and we were trying to find Eric. I needed to ask him something. And so we came down all of the stairs to the bottom floor, and we didn't see anybody else. And we sat down there probably for 10 minutes. We couldn't hear really anything going on. We couldn't hear footsteps or anything. And the way it broke us back was one of the other people came downstairs, and all of a sudden we could hear all of this stuff again. And I'm like, where have y'all been? Ted, where have y'all been? He goes, we're right upstairs on that landing. They were standing we would have had to come right past them. He said, we've been standing there for like 30 minutes talking about stuff. And I said, we came down here 10 minutes ago and you weren't there. Carla, we haven't moved. We've been standing there.
Wow.
So I believe that when he came downstairs, it put us
in a hole.
Back. And
or back from the hole.
Is
this the ship story?
No, the ship one was worse.
That story scares the shit out of me.
Myself. We went to Buffalo for
probably that's why it scares me, because you were by yourself.
Oh my gosh, and it was an hour.
Yeah.
They said, we've been down here waiting for you for 20 minutes. They said, we've been waiting for you for 20 minutes. I'll get there. So we went to the Buffalo shipyards. Where's
that? What state is that?
It's in Buffalo, New York.
New York, okay.
And because I live in Texas, it takes 2 days to get across Texas. I had not been a lot of places. So whenever we went to another state for a conference, I always wanted to do the sightsee thing. Mm-hmm. So I drug Ted again and Eric out to the Buffalo shipyards. And they had the USS Sullivans. It was 5 brothers in World War I or something that were all on the same ship, and that ship went down, and all 5 brothers were killed. That wiped out the lineage for any other person with that name. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of people, if you've got brothers and stuff, you can't be in the same area. But in war, they had that. They had the U.S. Little Rock, which was like a gunboat, and then this little submarine, the Krakoa or something. We're on the first ship. Eric he was always on a lot of medications for different medical reasons, and he just wasn't feeling well that morning. And I wanted to go. We had gone through all the part of the ship. There were all kinds of people there. It was a very touristy place. There were announcements and all this stuff. And I wanted to go into like the wheelhouse area. And there was a bench down by where you came on. Mm-hmm. Follow the yellow stripe. So they were going to go back down to that area. There's a guard there and everything. And I was just going to go through the wheelhouse and then come back through. So I went in one side of the wheelhouse and looked out at everything, and I went out the other side. When I went out the other side, I believe is when I stepped
into the black
hole. Because
was it quiet when you stepped into it?
It's quiet. I couldn't hear any other people. I didn't see any other people. I walked down to the area where I thought they were supposed to be. And that area was, if you maybe a little wider than this, you could see from one side of the ship to the other. And that was right there. I walked right past on the other side of the ship where they were supposed to be. The guard wasn't even there. There was no one there. I looked and I thought.
How long until you're like, shit, I'm scared?
I wasn't until the very end. I didn't realize.
So you're kind of like, what's going on?
No idea. I'm just having a blonde moment. I'm just oblivious to everything going on, evidently. I'm like, where'd they go? So there's, I went across the little bridge onto the USS Sullivans, and I'm looking around waiting for them and stuff. And I took some pictures of the guns. And I thought, well, maybe they went ahead and went down into the ship. So down into the ship I went. And I was looking at, some of it's like a little museum. They have a lot of stuff. None of my pictures came out. None of the pictures that I have. I have 2 phones. Neither one of my phones would work. I couldn't make either one of my phones work. No, the camera pictures didn't come out. And I'm just walking through looking at all of this museum stuff. And that's all I could see was like the ship. I couldn't hear anybody, no announcements. And I got all the way down to the bottom and I'm starting to get creeped out because I'm beginning to realize that I haven't caught up with them. I am hearing music from like the 40s.
And you're not seeing anyone.
No announcements, no other people, nothing. And I'm down in the bottom around the brig and mop bucket. You know how a mop bucket, the wheels will squeak? I heard that. And it freaked me out so bad. I went up 3 or 4 flights of steps and I came out this door on the side. There were seagulls. I could hear the waves on the side of the ship.
It's like you're back into the world.
I don't know where that door was. It's not the door you're supposed to come out. To get back to where I was supposed to be, I had to go sideways along the bulkhead and the rail to get back over there.
There's no way in hell you're going to go back.
When we went back through and stuff, I never could find that door where I came out at.
Wow.
Came out the door. As soon as I got through the door, my phone rang. And it's Eric. And he's like, where the hell are you? We've been waiting over here 20 minutes. And I'm like, and he said, we've been waiting over here for 20 minutes. And so I told him I was coming back around. And at this point, I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so they're going to go through. They're going to go through and look at it. It took us like 50 to 55 minutes to go through the whole thing.
And here you are, you went through
it. He said 20 minutes. He'd been waiting for me for 20 minutes. And I went through this whole thing. I looked at everything. I took my time. And as we're going through it, there's people everywhere. There's announcements. Don't forget to come by the gift shop. We've got this on special today. There was a snack area where you could get a drink. And I know Ted and Eric were not having a good time because I kept telling them, the ship was not here. I'm telling you, this ship was not here. These people were not here. There weren't any announcements. I don't know where I've been, but this ship was not here.
Like you're freaking out.
Yeah, we got a soda and sat down.
Wow. I bet you were ready to get off that ship.
It's so funny because about 6 months after that, we were supposed to go to the USS South Carolina or wherever, the one that's in South Carolina, the big ship that there was a show on and everything. And I was supposed to go. And I finally asked him, I said, how long are we supposed to be on that ship? And he goes, we're spending the night. I said, no, we're not. I said, get your money back. I'm not going. Invite someone else. I said, I can't. And I haven't been back on another ship.
Oh.
Because I couldn't do it.
Okay, now that makes my brain want to ask millions of questions now.
Sure.
Black holes. That scares the shit out of me. I don't know how, because I've astral projected before. I've experienced shit like that, and that scares me kind of.
Well,
and it's kind of the same place you go to, that in between.
It's hard to explain it if it's never happened. And there were 3 or 4 other ladies in the group. There's a house in Indiana that I was supposed to go to. Eric was not feeling well that night, so I stayed home with him. There's not a bathroom in this place.
Yeah.
So all the ladies had to go to the bathroom. It's the middle of the night. They've been investigating and stuff a little bit. They get in the car and they go, I think you said it was 5 miles down to this little gas station. And they went to the bathroom, got some snacks, and they're on their way back. And they've got the GPS on. They know they're on the right road. And the GPS is telling them to go further down and around this other place.
Yeah.
And they're looking out the windows. They cannot find this house. They said they drove back and forth and then 4 or 5 times where they knew the mileage was supposed to be stopping and trying to look and find this house. And when they rolled their window down, they were right in front of it.
Wow. So they kind of got stuck.
They were, yeah. Well, what we didn't know was the house was moved to that location. It had been further down or something. Yeah. And so a couple of the ladies.
So they put the house up on a trailer, basically,
and just moved it. And they were using it for paranormal activity. But a couple of the younger girls, Misty and I cannot remember the other girl's name to save my life, but they understood. And I told Eric, I said, if I'd have been there, I'd be in a straitjacket right now. I cannot do that a third time. We're not going there. I said, I can't. But after that happened to them, and as soon as they rolled the window down, they couldn't see the house, but as soon as they rolled the window down, the house was right there. They said they were right there.
So is it possible that people get stuck and have trouble
I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's
I think
my
it just
fear. Because we're not from that world, that dimension, so we're not meant to be there. But
I don't know, and I think I don't know. I don't know why it happens. Eric wanted it to happen. Eric kept saying that would be so cool, and I'm like,
he wanted to experience.
He wanted to experience it, and I'm like, really? It's
probably
not.
experience. It probably happens to people that don't want it.
Yeah, I was done. I was completely over it, and that I wouldn't go to some of the insane asylums and different places, the Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Because when people were in jail and people were in the insane asylums and homes and stuff like that, I don't know that their spirits really understand. I don't know, but some of the spirits and stuff that were in there were scary.
Yeah.
I bet. And I wasn't comfortable listening to them and stuff anymore, and some of the stuff that was so, but we went a lot of other places, and I always enjoyed it. There was always something happening.
One place, you're gonna probably think I'm crazy, but one place that never really scared me that I've got to go see by myself before is the reformatory.
We've got some footage and stuff from that place that I would.
Did you just shit yourself?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I know which one you're talking about. The one that's in
Mansfield.
Oh, not Mansfield. Well, Mansfield scared the crap out of me too.
You know what I'm talking about? The prison that looks so castle.
We there was a group of us, and we were in there one night, and I kept feeling someone in front of me. So this other person got me. We went all the way up to the 6th story of the cell blocks and everything, and she says, "Well, we got to go on," and so we're trying to move forward, and right at the end of the cell block, she and I both saw something go across, a dark shadow.
Oh, shit.
But that was the way that we had to go to get back down out of there. That place was nuts. That place was absolutely crazy.
I think because when I went, it was during the day, maybe, because that affects spirit, I think, day and night.
And cold. I think cold does too.
Yeah.
I really think that cold
affects it.
Yeah.
Like when I went, I didn't say I didn't sense anything. I sensed spirit, don't get me wrong, but I did not feel, I didn't feel scared at all.
I don't know, because I was so...
McConaughey, I've been scared multiple times.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things in there that can be scary, but it's calmed down a lot since Eric's been gone. But
yes, it has.
Mansfield scared me though, just because of some of the stories and stuff, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't know how to calm down. I didn't have Shaq with me. Shaq was like my little familiar whenever I'd go anywhere. But
what's so funny, we basically talked about everything on this paper. Oh, here's interesting. Famous run-ins, including the dead. Like, have you met any famous spirits, some of the places you travel to?
Not that I don't think so. Not anyone. I mean, the places that we would go.
When I went to Washington, D.C., and I seen a lot of spirits there, but the main spirit I saw that was famous was George Washington. When we went to his house, he was all up in that house.
It's weird because Eric was such an integral part of that. it's hard for me to tune into it.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because I had to let him go, like you told me.
Yeah.
You got to let him go. I had to let him go so that I could rest better.
And so he could rest better too.
Yeah.
Which,
because I was holding
he's
on.
too
Yeah.
too active to.
Well, he's still. I mean, he's still in the house, and it's so
Yeah.
funny because Marlo can see him and Chewy can't.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to tell Eric in the bedroom one time that you got to leave the dog alone.
Yeah.
Because he was
stressing.
I think.
Out.
Well, yeah, he just kept growling. I knew Marlo could see him, and then he hasn't really been back up in the bedroom or anything. Maybe not while Marlo was awake, but he's been in the kitchen by the back door. There's some keychains on lanyards, and he used to hang all of his keys there. His car keys, the keys to the opera house, all the places that the ones to the barn to go get the tractor and stuff out, and I've left him there. I mean, all of his keys. I mean, he hung his car keys and stuff there before we left for the hospital.
Wow.
And walked out that door, because that back door is where we would go out. They're right there at hand level, and he would just grab the lanyard off and go. So there are about 4 lanyards hanging there. And the one that he had, it had this little, policeman's baton on it about this big. And one evening, Chewy, I mean, he never paid attention to it. I heard the keys first. And I closed the back door between there and the door to the outside. There's no wind. It's in a corner. Nobody walked past them. Both of the dogs were over here. I was by the cabinet, and I heard the keys first. And Marlo was looking at them, and he growled.
Wow.
And I looked at Marlo first and looked at where he was looking, and the keys, there was one strand of them that was like
I bet that pulled at your heartstrings.
I knew it was him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I really am okay. He understood. He knew that he wasn't coming home. So, and he took care of me. That's all he ever wanted to do, was to take care of me and his family. So, it's all good.
You make me cry. I love you.
Well, I tell this story all the time. I love cards because they say so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get him cards. I hated Valentine's Day because I felt like, my man loves me all 365 days.
I love that start of that sentence. I hate Valentine's Day.
So one morning I got up. We'd been dating like a couple of years. I think I got him something the first year, and the second year I was like, you know what? I really hate Valentine's Day because you don't need to get me anything. I didn't get your card or anything. Kissed him goodbye. I went to work. He sent me flowers.
Oh,
I actually got flowers at work that day.
So he got you flowers.
And I felt so bad every year after his favorite piece of chocolate, like a Reese's peanut butter cup or something. Mm. And I can't even remember when I got him this card. I know towards the last few years in the house, I started putting the date on the lower corner of them, and this one doesn't have a date on it. So I know before he passed away, it was at least 5 years old. I've not found one other card that I ever gave this man. I've gotten all of his clothes. I've got, I've been through everything.
That's the card you showed me, right?
I have the one card, yes, that I gave him. It was a Valentine's card. The front of it says, "The one for me," underneath, "will always be," and in the center, "you." Mm. And inside it, I signed, "All of my best memories begin and end with you. I love you," and my name. That's the one he kept. And I found it on top of his checkbook with his Social Security card, his checkbook, and his wallet. Because he knew I was going to have to go and look for that.
So the way the house is, it's almost like he's still alive, because everything where things were when he was there is still
I
there.
left them for the most part.
I love
I've
that.
changed the living room around a little bit. I did. We always used to go up the back stairs because it came out in the bathroom where our room was. I don't go up and down that staircase anymore.
So you shut it?
Yeah, it's closed off. I just there for my own peace of mind, there were some things that I just because we used to hear people coming up and down those stairs when we weren't.
Yeah.
I've actually opened the door one time because I heard someone coming up the stairs when I was getting ready for work, and I opened the door and no one was there. It was so loud. You could hear them coming up the stairs. And I said, there is someone in this bathroom. You need to go back downstairs and wait. And I shut the door again. And so, but I come up and down the front stairs now. I changed the library and I changed the living room around, and the dining room. Yeah. But
Your house is so gorgeous, though.
And I changed the parlor. Yeah.
The
rooms are all still the same. We still have all of this stuff in it and everything.
When
but
you go in
I've
her
changed
house,
them
you just
around.
want to rub your hands down the walls and the
I mean,
architecture.
it's just so well taken care of.
It has so much that I want to know who designed the house. I'm like, maybe they're probably dead, so I can be like, hey, give me some ideas.
I don't know. But yeah.
So now, no famous dead people, but famous alive people. Who is your most?
Who have we met?
Yeah, met a lot of people. Don't we start the list out?
from
Recently was Portals to Hell, I would say.
Was Jack Osborne and Katrina Weidman.
Katrina's so nice.
Yeah,
I really
she's
like
very
her.
nice. And then I think from Ghost Adventures we met Zach Baggins and the two guys that were always with him. There was another show that was on for a little while, and the guy's name was Dan. But they had a dog, and he and this other woman were going in these different haunted places and stuff. I can't remember what the name of the show was. I think it only lasted like one season. We did My Ghost Story Caught on Camera. I think we did 3 different episodes of that.
Yeah. I saw a lot of TV stuff, and it made me tear up a little bit because
it's so funny because I'll be sitting there and I'll get text messages from cousins and stuff because they all watch it.
Yeah.
And they'll be watching reruns because one of them had something in his house, and it's the biggest cousin. He's 7 foot.
Wow.
And the stuff that was going on, the house they were living in was 100 plus years old. She was just curious.
Wow.
This person that was there, it's just a little old lady, and she was just curious. But when I let him listen, we left a recorder running all night. When I let him listen, it was quiet while they were awake, but as soon as they went to sleep, this lady would come out. She was just so curious. I mean, if you think about it, electricity, the toys, she loved the kids. But the kids would not go in this one room. They wouldn't sleep in there. They would go and play with some stuff while it was light and mom was there and stuff and everyone was awake. But neither one of the kids, at first it was just their daughter. And then when they had their son, they tried to have him in there, and he would have terrors at night. He would not. I mean, if you think about it as a spirit, if it's an older person, she's not doing anything, but you're asleep and you wake up and an older lady or something is looking at you. It's unnerving. But
when
anyway, I get text messages and stuff, and they'll be like, "Look what I'm watching," and they'll take a picture of the TV. Yeah, it'll be Eric or it'll be me. Look what we're watching.
Well, I was getting some clips together because before this episode airs, I'm gonna put a bunch of clips of you and Eric together to do a little tribute for Eric.
There's a lot of stuff, lot of footage.
I went on social media. Every famous paranormal page there is mentioned Eric when he passed. Like I went back to the year he passed, and there were so many people who loved your husband
Yeah.
and loved you guys, and yeah, and it's really it's cool to see. Did he
The
real?
Booth brothers, we met the Booth brothers. The Booth brothers came to the Twin Cities Opera House. They used to do a lot of paranormal
Stuff.
films and stuff. And
He was
Hennigan,
also on a lot of
Keith
podcasts.
Age, Keith Age, um, and there was a priest who was on Ghost Adventures. He's passed away now, but we met him, and he came to a couple of things. And then I think Katrina Weedman was doing a show with another guy. I can't remember what his name was, but I had Shaq with me, and we were at Fort Niagara for a conference, and he and Katrina were at a table. And as soon as I walked in with Shaq, he's like, "Oh my gosh, the pup!" Because he had Chihuahuas too.
Yeah.
And Shaq, you had to introduce slowly to him. He's very much my dog.
Yeah.
And he came over and just got, oh, he's so cute. And Shaq was growling, and I said, "You better," and all of a sudden, he got him. I was trying to tell him, he goes, "It's okay. I know Chihuahuas." But yeah.
I love that.
But yeah.
Yeah, you've met a lot of people, and a lot of people know who you are.
Yeah, and I was doing it with Eric. It was something that he and I used to do. And I tell people this all the time. Women, when they marry or they're in a relationship with their children, it's just ingrained in us. We follow our children around to different events. We follow our husband and the things that they want to do. I cooked for Eric, what he wanted to eat and what I knew I could feed him and stuff. When he passed away, it's like my dad said, I've never been alone. I had my kids, my husband, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. It took me 3 or 4 different times going to the grocery store before I could even actually know what I wanted, you know? And that's not saying that that's bad or anything. It's just once you find yourself alone without the children or anything, what is it you want to do? And on a whim, I signed up for a hiking
Because
thing.
it's like almost like when you and Eric were together, you guys were this whole new person.
Mm-hmm.
But without Eric, it's like now you have to get to know a whole nother side of you.
It's so funny because Eric, within the first couple of months, he understood me he treated me like a princess.
He understood you more than you understood yourself.
Yeah, more than anybody. I could, whenever I was in a relationship previously, I would become the person that they wanted, me to be or something, and I could just be myself. And he wasn't, he wasn't perfect, but he was perfect for me.
Yeah.
And someone told me one time, because I used to say, he was my knight in shining armor. I had to move 1,200 miles to find the man of my dreams. And they said, well, what if you were his knight in shining armor? To bring his world to a better place. Because his family, our holidays were spent with his ex-wife and in-laws and with all of the family and her husband, and everybody loved everybody. And he was able to bridge that gap.
He didn't like enemies. He wanted everyone to be.
No, it was a rather contentious divorce between he and his ex-wife, and I get it, but he wasn't perfect either. I understand he was hurt and everything, but there was stuff,
on both ends.
Yeah, and the thing that I think I told him the most was, the 2 things that you love the most in your life are your boys, and she gave those kids to you because she miscarried a couple of times before she was even able to carry the older boy to term. And I said, there wouldn't have been a second one for me because I'm not going to, they would have torn me up. I don't know if I
Yeah.
could have tried that many times. And she was
Yeah.
on bed rest with Travis.
Wow.
So I said, you know, she gave you the most important things in your life. I said, you need to thank her. So yeah, I mean, I really liked that he had all of his. I loved going over to the house with them when the family and all was there because he had 21 years with them. They used to do
Mm-hmm.
all of their vacations and everything together. And the stories that they would tell, and because he was such a character, he could,
Yeah.
I mean, he had no filter,
We would have got along fine.
no filter whatsoever. I mean, he was just, and everybody loved him, you know, he was a good man.
Still is.
Yep.
I got to meet him in spirit, not in person, but
That was
the first time we met.
unreal. Yeah. Because I don't know if I told you, but I specifically went to see if he would show up.
Well, let's let. So my second time to McConnelsville, the Twin City Opera House. I did a show with my shows, do music and readings, and
You
you
were going
showed
to,
up.
I go to a lot of concerts and stuff by myself. You can always get a front row ticket to a concert because there's always that
That's
one
what
seat.
I do.
There's one seat left on the front row. I mean,
Yeah.
I just got Kevin Hart tickets on the floor. You know, he's so hilarious. I got one ticket right near the front, you know, for Kevin Hart, a guy in May. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
But there's always that one lone ticket somewhere in a row
Yeah, that's
on
how
the
I
floor
am.
towards the
Mhm.
front. So, where was I going with this? Oh,
Oh,
so
you
you
got
were
that
talking,
row.
I'm telling you, the senile moments and the blonde moments are beginning to talk to each other. So you were talking to all the people around me and I was like, okay, you know, it's okay. I was still having a hard time with it. I was okay for the most part. I couldn't hardly talk about him without crying. I still cried a lot. Um, if not every day, every other day. And nights were the worst. And that's when I would cry the most
Mhm.
because I just missed him so bad. And I would, I was, you know, going back and forth between anger and just holding on to him and trying to, you know, talk to him and didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't have any hobbies, didn't just, I was stuck.
You were stuck. You were.
And so we came back after a break and I didn't realize you were talking to me. You're like, so, and you said something and I
I'm trying
was
to
kind
remember
of
what I
looking
said.
around and he's like, you I thought you were talking to the people in front of me again. He said, no, you in the pink sweatshirt. And I'm like, oh, me? And he's like, you're like, yeah, you. Are you shy? And I'm like, no. And you
Hell
said,
no, I ain't shy.
you said, can I come down there and talk to you? And I'm like, sure.
Should have been like, that's why I'm here.
Well, I wasn't going to give anything away. So you came down and you were standing. I was on the end of a row and you were standing, leaning up against the chairs. And you said, you've lost someone very close to you. And I said, yes. And you said, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. I held it together at that point pretty
Mhm.
good. I said, no. And then you said, you got to let him go. And I think I just about lost it then. And he said, was he a police officer? And I was like, oh my God. And then I was just bawling because he had a brain tumor. It was but and in my mind, I just kept thinking, it's benign. You know, it's benign. But there were so many other things going on with it that I don't think I understood. He was the surgeon that we saw, the second opinion told us, you know, if you leave it, it's going to kill you. you're high risk. You know, we just don't know. The surgeon really didn't want to do the surgery because I think he understood how high risk and where this thing was and where it was pressing on the brainstem and other areas. He knew because it was 1% of these tumors are fast growing. Most of them stay very small and people can have them. They're on the auditory nerve. They are caused by environmental noise. It was directly related to his time with uh, police and public servant and the sirens and all of that stuff. Um, his was that 1% that was fast growing. By the time we found it, it was already the size of a walnut, and
Wow.
73 days later, he was gone. But so we scheduled the surgery because it was, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And because the surgery was going to be, it's like 90 miles or something from where we live to there. And so we were staying in a hotel overnight. He sold his pontoon boat on the way to the hotel. We had to be at St. Anne's the next morning at 5 a.m. or something. And so he sold the pontoon boat and he kept telling me, you have to go back to the house. You've got to get this money. You've got to sign the title and he said, just sign my name. You've got to, this has to be done tonight.
Wow.
And I was like,
I didn't even know that.
You
Wow.
you want me to go round trip? Because I was supposed to be picking up my daughter, and he said, you've got to call this guy when you get there and do this. And before I left, we had ordered pizza because he knew he couldn't eat after 6 o'clock. And he took a bite. He'd been having a horrible headache for a couple of days, just really, really bad headache. And he took a bite of pizza and he said it felt like something exploded in his head.
Oh.
And he didn't eat anything. When I got back, the left side of his face and body was droopy and he was throwing up and he said his head hurt so bad. I called the squad. And it was actually, we were supposed to be diverted. They were diverting away from St. Anne's emergency room. They would have taken him down to OSU again. And I just kept telling the ambulance guys, you know, we have to go there. That's where he's supposed to have surgery tomorrow morning. We have to go there, and they kept trying to call St. Anne's and no one would answer. They took him there because I just kept telling him, you can't take him to OSU. One, it's out of network. We couldn't go there. He has to go to this hospital. That's where his surgeon is. That's where he's supposed to be having surgery. He's got this thing in his head.
It's where people
and
know
I just
familiar.
kept on. They were probably like, okay, lady, whatever. So that's where they took us. And I didn't know what AFib with, I can't remember what it's called, but this AFib that you have
Keep talking.
with the mitral valve or something, AFib with reverberation, or I don't know what it is. The mortality rate for that is like zip. And I didn't realize they kept asking me, did he have AFib or something before? And I didn't realize they took him down to try and get a scan. And when they went down to do that, they were paging some doctors and they said hemorrhagic stroke, room 96. And I went out of the room. We were on this big corner room right across from the nurse's station there in the emergency room. I went out and looked up, and that was our room.
Wow.
He'd had a hemorrhagic stroke. And so they got him up into ICU, and they had to intubate him. And he never woke up.
Wow.
He never woke up. He didn't even make it to surgery. But I really feel like, and I know now in my heart, And in my gut, I know he knew he wasn't coming home. All of the conversations he had before he went to the hospital with his boys, with his ex-wife Paula, with his friends.
And he's like, no matter what was going to happen, I want to make sure you were taken care of.
Well, and it's so funny because he and I, neither one were real big about, I love you, you know, just, okay, you know what? I love you. Great. Just, I'm too much of a tomboy. And we'd been together 11 years-ish. And about 3 years before that, 4 years before that, right after we'd moved into the house in 2017, we were talking about his pension and stuff. And he said, but if we're not married, you won't get my pension. He was telling me, I love you. My sticking point was I didn't want to change my name. And the day that I told him I would drop my maiden name and take his name was a Monday. We were in front of the judge that Friday. Then we went to the BMV and got my new license. And we went to the Social Security office and got my new Social Security. All in one day.
Wow.
So, yeah, he was serious. He wanted to make sure I was taken care of. That was 2018.
Wow.
But I understood when he said that, he was trying to tell me he wanted to take care of me. Because he'd told me, we were only together about a year. And he told me he felt like he wouldn't make it to 60, and he knew he wasn't going to make it to 70. Mm-hmm. And I'd gotten angry with him and told him, I said, you got to have more of a positive outlook. He was 57.
Wow. Not that old. What the heck?
Mm-mm. Just, it's just one of those things. But where it was pressing on his brainstem, it was causing some paranoia. It was difficult for him to remember his train of thought. Mm-hmm. He couldn't walk without a cane. The tremors were so bad. Like palsy tremors. He just was, you could see his head a little bit and just his hands. He couldn't hardly write his name anymore, hardly.
That's sad.
But he knew this thing was in his head. And that's what he told the surgeon. He goes, I want it out of my head. He said, I don't care what the risk is. He said, I want this thing out of my head.
So he knew. He just knew it wasn't.
Yeah. But
I'm happy we met that day.
You know what? It helped me so much because right when you said you've got to let him go, I knew exactly what you were talking about. And I knew I had to let go. He needed to rest, and he wasn't going to rest unless I could let go. And so it just put me on a better path it didn't happen immediately, but on the grieving spouses page on Facebook, there are some people, it's very difficult for them to move on. It's been 3.5 years, and I still wear my wedding rings in my heart. I'm still married. There's never going to be, I really don't feel like, unless something just smacks me on the head with a board, I'm still married. I can't even think of anybody else, but I am going out and I'm enjoying myself with making new friends and, hiking, and Women on Water, the group I've met, it's just a group of ladies. We go hiking. We just went to snow trails. There was probably 50 of us doing the tubing.
Yeah.
And just a wonderful group of people. Started working out.
And everyone just loves you. I mean, people at McConnelsville, they're like, I just love that lady.
Oh, thank
that
you.
Lady with the cool hairdo. I'm like, yeah, she does have a cool hairdo.
Yeah, my hair's always been a little wild, but I just, it helped me move on. It helped me let him go. And I do feel like he's resting easier. I do feel like some of the spirits that were in the house that used to bug me,
now he's on the other side. He can kick their ass.
The one lady that was there, She didn't show up. She started coming in about a year and a half. I saw her the first time about a year and a half before we knew he was sick. And then about 9 months before he was sick, he started seeing her, and he could see full body. I could
Wow.
see an impression. He could see her.
Wow.
And
The
he could hear
detail.
her. I scared him one night sitting in the bed because he'd turned around to say
Do
something
you
back
think
down the
because
stairs.
when
I think it was a relative. I
really
think it was a relative
that
because he
knew
was big into ancestry. I think it was someone
because
who
before
was
he
there to
died,
show him.
he was dying, just no one knew.
We just didn't know.
And when that happens, the veil gets very thin.
Well, he almost died June 2nd, 2020, because he was painting part of the porch and he was on a wood ladder. And everybody knows Eric. He was a very big man. A lot of love.
Tall.
The ladder broke. I hear him in my head right now. I did not fall off the ladder. Okay, he did not fall off the ladder. The ladder broke. But
get it right.
A large man should not be on a wooden ladder. He was on the and it probably would have been fine, but he was on the very top trying to reach this spot on the porch, and the ladder broke and collapsed, and he hit those posts that are in the front. They've got the big square part at the base of
Did
them.
the thing break and it just snapped on the way down?
It broke. It broke, and when it broke, one leg of it broke, and it pitched him off the front of the porch over the rail.
Shit.
But he hit the square part of the post on the way down, and he hit it so hard you could see the point,
Outline
the
of it.
impression. And we went to the emergency room, and they sent him home. He was bleeding internally.
Wow.
And it hurt so bad, and he collapsed a couple times. And so I called the squad, and they came. They air flighted him in to OSU.
Wow. He did some podcasts that year too, 2020. There were some podcasts, or they could have been like filmed in 19 and posted in 2020.
I'm not sure.
But I saw a lot that were posted of him getting interviewed.
Yeah, probably.
And it's crazy. If you look his name up on Google, you will see him on so much shit. You guys were on so much stuff, and he was been on so many
he knew
interviews.
Everybody. I mean, he just, he kept in touch with everybody.
Everyone knew him, and so many famous paranormal investigators. When I talk about McConnelsville, they're like, "Do you know Eric Glosser?" I said, "No, but I know his wife very, very well." So yeah, it's really cool to see that, and his story lives on, and so many people know about him and know about you. So he
was amazing. I mean, the paranormal stuff that he introduced me to, some of the equipment that I brought tonight. I don't have a lot of it anymore. Again, it's not something that I go and do a lot anymore because it was just something that Eric and I
did together.
And I just don't like being around the spirits and stuff as much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm an empath so much, but I can feel a lot of emotions sometimes. And it's so overwhelming that I just
and it's
can't.
Almost like it takes more of a toll out of you than it does
than just the spirit being there.
Yeah,
the feeling their pain or their sadness or their anger from some of those places and all, especially the children. They're scared.
That's my biggest struggle with this business.
I just can't deal with it.
I get it, because there's times where I don't even want to do it anymore, but I know it's my gift. I have to. But there's just some times where I feel like it makes
exhausted.
me so sick. I was like, I was in bed for 2 weeks one time after a group reading. A paranormal investigation and a reading is the same for me, because it's spirit coming through to talk. Same. And it made me so sick, and I was in bed for 2 weeks. Yeah. And it's like, it definitely, especially if you are gifted, it definitely takes a toll off you, I think.
I think I just have a lot of common sense. And
you have a lot of common sense, but
I just know
she won't say it, but I'll say it. She's gifted as fuck. You are.
But I feel like everyone has some ability.
Agreed.
We're just it's just we tap it down so much. That's not real. That's not real.
Yeah.
You know, that you just grow up, and because children, anyone will tell you, children can see and hear things. You're wondering, oh my gosh, how did they know that? You know, grandma's she's never met them, and she just told me exactly what she looked like. But then we keep telling them, you can't see them. They've been gone. There's a movie that's out right now, and they tell the little girl, Grandpa's not here. You know, there's no way. Yeah, Grandpa's not here. And
she can see him.
She can see him, you know. And so I think we just get into that mindset as we get older.
It's not real.
Yeah, that we close it off. But if you tap back into it enough, and sometimes people will even have an experience and they'll get chills or something, and they don't want to pay attention.
They don't want to pay attention. Yeah. They shut it off.
And every time you go on a paranormal investigation, people go because maybe they've had an experience or they've watched something. You're not always going to have that experience. The best things that I've always taken with me is a recorder, because a lot of times there can be something in the room and they're talking, but you can't hear them until you go back and listen to the recording.
So, what is one of the most haunted places you've been to? You would say the most out of all of them. For me, you know what it is for me? McConnelsville.
Yeah, well, McConnelsville is pretty haunted, and mostly because I've been there so many times, and I have audio of the night Victoria. It was just Eric, myself, his oldest son, and at that time fiance. Travis had chills going up and down his back the whole time, and we're talking a little bit. And you have to listen with earphones, but at the same time, Eric kind of goes like this. You hear from the stage, that audibly, you hear in the background a little bit. It's there, but what you absolutely hear real time, like they're sitting in the room loud, she goes, ha 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 ha.
That's on Eric's page. What you're talking about right now. You can find it on YouTube. And Eric Glosser.
It scared Mindy so bad. She jumped out of her chair into Travis's lap. Did you hear that? Yeah. and even to come back and watch a movie, she will not come back. She was done.
So if you're definitely a person that wants to experience paranormal, McConnelsville, Twin City Opera House.
Victoria, if Victoria wants to be seen and heard, she can do it. We have, you don't even have to have it on a recording or anything, and it's always from the stage. She's always on the stage. We've got some video and stuff where she tried to knock the camera over that time.
My first experience at McConnelsville, I did see a lady walking up the stairs, and I thought it was someone that worked there. And I didn't know that anyone was there because I thought Adam left and said, you do your shit, I'll be back. So I saw her and I followed her up the stairs because I saw her go up the balcony stairs. And I was going to go talk to her because I love meeting new people, you know me. So I go run up the stairs and I see that door kind of shut.
Where that dressing room was.
That dressing room. And she looked like she was dressed up Victorian time. So I just saw a dress. I didn't really see who. I just saw someone in a dress, corner of my eye, going upstairs. I look. I'm like, oh hey, I didn't know you. There was other people here. So I go walk up the stairs. I go into that bathroom that smells like shit.
Oh, it's awful in there.
And that was it. Gone. Nothing. And I didn't know. And I talked to some other paranormal investigators that came later on. One of them was one of the producers from Ghost Adventures. I don't remember what his name was because I'm like you. And I told him about it, and he said, that has to be Victoria. That had to been Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense because that was the old dressing room back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many things have happened in that place. There was a group that was in there one time, and they had a medium that they were calling, and that they wanted me to talk to. We didn't tell her where we were, didn't tell her my name, other than my name was Carla. Didn't tell her what state we were in, where we were, the town, the building, nothing. And she started talking, and the first thing she started talking about was a hallway with this old antique couch. She kept talking about this antique couch, and it looked like some red velvet or something. And I kept saying, she said, someone died there. And I'm like, do you remember when we went upstairs in my house?
Yeah.
The hallway between the two big rooms? That old humpback couch that's there?
Yeah.
That's the one she was talking
about. Oh, shit. So she wasn't talking about...
It doesn't look all burgundy, but it's got a floral, velvety...
It's got a red tint
to it. And she kept talking. She said, I think somebody's died on that. I was like, oh. But she said, it's a hallway. She said, it's like a hallway. There's some stairs. And I realized she was talking about my house.
Now, did she bring up any Twin City Opera House stuff?
She did. I had just mentioned to these people earlier that the clock tower, I never went up there. The one time I stepped through the doorway to go up the stairs, I felt like something rushed me and just was like right here. And it was so oppressive and so evil.
God,
I stepped back out, and someone even left the light on in there one time, and I'm on the door jamb. My feet were not in the room, and I had a flashlight.
Trying to turn
and I turned the light off that way because I was not stepping back in there. I had my shoulder and my arm in there with this long flashlight, and I was like, and got it out. No feet. It was just this. That's it. I was not stepping back in there because there was something evil up there. And it's funny because Jack Osborne, when he was there and they were up there, he got sick, and he felt like there was something.
That's when he left, was after the clock tower.
He went into another room that was up there, and you can hear some steps running across, like they're running across into the room there. But I had just told this group that was there, the paranormal group that was there, they were doing like a public thing. I had just told them about that there was something up there, and it wasn't the other entity that's there that they talk about so much. It was completely different. And while I was on the phone with her, she said, well, you're somewhere across the street. There's a big white building, and it's got columns. She was talking about the courthouse and everything right across the street, that big building that's got the white columns and everything. And she said, wherever there's something there, there's the one thing, she said, but there's something else there. And she said, it was never a person, but it's in the very top of this place.
Wow.
And it never comes out of there.
Wow.
She said, it's like a demon.
I wish they would remodel that.
And I turned around and looked at these guys, and they were like, oh my gosh.
I'd love to have my office up there. Imagine if they redid it and I rented it out for my readings.
Yeah. It was awful. Yeah, we can't get in the ballroom or anything anymore because they have all of the records. They store a bunch of records and stuff. Yeah.
I told Adam, I'm like, I wish they would store it in another room because I want to go in that tower so badly.
Yep.
And Adam's like, you're the first. I'm like, come on, you don't want to go in that tower with me? And he's like, he's on and off with that type of stuff. But I don't even think Adam wants to go in the tower.
Well, it's funny because Adam, Eric, we would go up there for an event, or some people would be coming in, and we would be hosting them or something, and he always invited the the kids and stuff behind the concession stands to go and stay with us and everything too. And a lot of them took us up on it. But Adam
would never go.
No, he didn't. He just he said maybe sometime, and he didn't ever go. His grandmother's place, I want to say his grandmother's place was haunted, and they actually investigated her house one night too.
Wow.
Because she had some strange things going on there.
Wow.
But McConnellsville sits on a lot of land that so many things have happened around there. When they were building the courthouse and everything, I don't even think it's the current courthouse. It may have been, or they were building something right around there, around that area. They found like a dungeon or an underground holding cell with bones in it.
Wow.
That had been covered over. And so they actually moved it across river into Malta, and there's a historical marker and everything there, but they found it over there in the square somewhere in McConnellsville.
See, next time I come to McConnellsville, I want to go around the town at night during the summer.
It's so funny because, of course, Eric could talk to anybody, and he knew everybody. I mean, he's investigated because all of those old buildings and stuff, the upper floors were apartments. And he said when you go in there, it's like all of furniture is still there, calendars from the 40s and 50s. It's like when they left, because usually the people who owned the stores or owned the building, they were living above it and everything too. And the kids would go and live somewhere else, or they left that area. So they still own the building or something. They just left everything the way that it was. It's like a time capsule up there.
The Airbnb that I stayed in, no paranormal activity. And at night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, I started sweating, and I was like in a dream. I was on fire. I was wondering if that was the fire.
Well, because that building that you're in is the house that originally caught fire.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream that was in that room. I was trying to escape, and I couldn't.
That was the brewer.
And I woke up, and I was sweating so badly. I thought it wet the bed, because that's how drenched that bed was in sweat.
There was a big controversy for a long time. Galen Finley kept saying there was a hotel, the Brewster Hotel, the Brewster Hotel. There was never a hotel named the Brewster Hotel. Eric hated to read, but I always want to see evidence.
Yeah.
And so we'd been going through and investigating and looking for all of this stuff. And he's reading, and we're trying to watch a football game or something. And he reads a little bit, and he comes back, and he's just kind of scrolling, and he sees fire. And he looks, and that was the fire in the Brewster dwelling house. A dwelling house was not a hotel, but it was like a B&B. They would let rooms
be rented.
Yeah, for single men that were clerks that didn't have a family. Because in that day and age, in the 1860s, 1870s, men didn't cook for themselves and do all that stuff. If they didn't have a wife or anything, they lived in a bachelor's apartment. And usually that was in a dwelling house.
Wow.
That would let out their rooms, and they would cook their meals and stuff for them. That was part of it. And they had 2 men living there at the time. There was a daughter named Victoria, and this gentleman was a clerk at the
not the same Victoria that went to the theater.
I don't know. I see. They think it was Victoria, that she was an actor there. I feel like it was the Victoria, because she's always right in that same area.
Same.
Where her house would be.
Yeah.
And those stairs could be an upstairs room or something. But that's always where she's at. And that's where that house was. But right there, that where you're at was part of where, I don't know if it was the exact place, but all of that right there was burned out. That is one of the original buildings, but it was damaged because right next to it, right there somewhere, I'd have to look for sure if it was that one or the one next to it. All of it burned all the way over to where
That
Domino's,
spirit
where
in
the
that room.
Domino's is,
Yeah.
was where a house was, and that one was
Wow.
damaged as well.
The spirit, the whatever was in that room, it did not like that I was at that place.
Mm.
And same time every night, around 2 to 3 in the morning. It started at 2, then 3 is when I would start sweating. It would get very hot in that room.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
I
when
felt
the
a presence in that corner and just stared at me the whole time. I didn't say anything when Lisa was there because I didn't want to freak them out, but it messed with me because I stayed
I think you were there 2 or 3 nights.
3 nights, I think, and it happened every night at the same time.
Mm.
So I don't know if something happened during that time. I don't know.
It's so funny because this
Was the fire at nighttime? Was it early in the
I would
morning?
have to read the article again. I can't. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, but
But the township had actually, because McConnellsville used to be probably the size of Zanesville now.
yeah.
Zanesville's very good size. This was before roads and railroads and all of that stuff. The river, they're right there on the river with all of the locks and everything. The riverboats used to be all of the commerce
Mm-hmm.
right there. Everybody came on the riverboat. And you also have to remember in the 1870s, if you wanted meats and stuff, you went to the butcher. If you went breads and stuff, you went to the bakery. If you wanted um, soap, shampoo, you went to the apothecary, which usually was the pharmacy where the doctor was. Someone ran the
So it's not like
apothecary.
now you can go to Kroger and get everything
Mm-mm.
you want in one
If
place.
women wanted unmentionables or stuff, they went to the milliners. You know, you couldn't. You went to the cobblers to get your shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. There was nothing in the same place. You had to go to all these different places.
And then they would take the boat over
Hmm.
and
They would come back and forth. Yeah, the bridges and everything were there. They were older bridges. They were out all the time because of the floods.
I will
Um,
say McConnellsville, what I love so much aside of the hauntings, it feels like you're in a ghost town movie. Everything looks old and it's the town is cool. Like I have never been to a town as cool as
yeah,
McConnellsville.
McConnellsville is very nice.
It's
Everybody
not a
knows it.
lot there, but
Everybody
it's
knows everybody, and you might not even get along with everybody, but you're still going to have their back.
yeah. And
That's what I feel like. Everybody knows, and I can tell everybody what my address is, and they're like, I'm like big red brick house, and they're like, and they remember. I said it's down by the library. Well, they're thinking of the one that's over on the
yeah,
square because it's the mirror image of
of
mine,
of yours.
and I'm like, no, it's Judge Dye's old house. Oh, I know that house. Everybody knew Judge Ralph Dye.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Judge
And
Dye's house.
and another thing, when people are thinking about coming to McConnellsville for the theater and stuff like that, the 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 museum there is so. When you took me, I thought it was gonna be this small little rinky dinky
No, it's
shop.
not just that front part. I mean, it
It
opens, it's all in the back.
it's so big.
All of those. The thing is, when you walk the fields and everything around McConnellsville, because we're on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains, and you have to remember the rivers that run through there. They have the Y Bridge that's in Zanesville because there's literally three rivers that all come together right there, and the Y Bridge goes back over the two major ones. I can't remember if it's two or three, but there's they come through right there to make up the Muskingum River that comes through there. But everything used to be Indian, and the Indians, different Indian groups would fight over the land because it was so fertile.
Wow.
You can walk through there sometimes through the fields and where they've tilled it up or something to plant a crop, and you'll just see arrowheads.
Wow,
and
that's
stuff. Just
a lot of
artifacts laying around.
Indian history there.
A lot of it. And we didn't know when the settlers came and stuff like that, they didn't know anything about all these mounds and
Now at that
stuff.
graveyard, is there any Indian stuff there? Any?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because I
I think
almost
there were
went.
some areas that were supposed to be sacred that when um, Robert McConnell bought all the land and they started platting the city and everything, the land that was where the burial sites and stuff were, they didn't know what they were. Just like in Granville, where Brendu sits,
Yeah,
that was a huge spiritual area there. They just plowed them all under. They didn't know that
that
what
was
the mounds meant.
yeah. And then that just pissed off so many.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I think sometimes what we don't understand too is that even if you have a newer home, but there's something or someone there, it's because there may have been something there before. Whoever is there is living in what they remember as their home or what they remember as what they used to live, because it has changed so much. They're just living on a different plane.
Yeah. Part of our world, but not at the same time.
I keep telling my dad at his house, because my dad bought this piece of land in Missouri and there was a house on it at the time. And he said it was like slanted, and there was a little old man that used to live there and he passed away, and it used to face Webb. Webb goes this way, Rogers goes this way. He lives right at the corner. And it used to be 202 Webb, and there's a driveway on this side. And when he had tear it down, because he said it was like slanting, he tore it down. He put new foundation and everything, but now it faces Rogers. It's 202 Rogers. If you look it up, though, it tries to tell you it's Webb on Google or anything. But the front door used to be where his front windows are.
Wow.
And I tried to tell him one time that this little old man kept walking through the door, his front door. He goes, I don't want to hear that shit.
But so to wrap this up a little bit, so we talked about paranormal, and definitely come to McConnellsville, definitely come to my event so you can kind of see what she's talking about. But what is future plans now? Travel?
Retired in January, bought an RV, and yeah.
So you're going to be kidnapping my mom and going on
I've got
trips.
a couple of places that, I'm staying at a state park. I bought the RV for the dogs so I can take the dogs with me. They've been to Camp Bow Wow so they can go for daycare at some point. So I'll go to places where they've got a nearby Camp Bow Wow so I can put them in daycare for half a day or a day.
So you can go
and
hike.
I can go, so I can hike. Yeah, if I hike, the two bigger boys will come with me.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And there's an enclosed area in the RV. As a matter of fact, I went out yesterday. There's bunk beds, and the lower bunk bed I've taken out, and it's an enclosed area. But the little piece that was coming across, I wanted to give the littles
a little area too.
So they could get in and out to where they needed to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I see.
Or their food and stuff without the bigs, because there was like just a piece of facing or something across it. So I got a gate for that, but it's got a small little gate in the bottom of it that I can leave open that only they can get through. So I took the piece off that was blocking it there, and I put the gate in yesterday. So now they can get in and out of their little area whenever they want to. I don't have to put them in there to go to the bathroom or when they want to eat or whatever. Like I did at home, I've opened up some areas so everybody the dogs have a lot of room now at home that they can run in. But now when we're in the RV, I've got some stairs so they can actually get up on the bed and stuff too. So now they can go in their own little house, and
Nice. So they have their own little area.
yeah.
So
So
your future plans is mostly travel and
yeah. The littlest one has some congestive heart failure going on, and the vet has told me that altitude is not going to be healthy for him. He's got a heart murmur and stuff. So Colorado's not in our plans. I was going to try and go to the Grand Canyon and Utah. The the national parks and stuff out there are gorgeous, and I wanted to go there, but probably not for at least maybe a year and a half, 2 years or so until.
I can't hear all about. We'll have to do another podcast on just travel because that'd be interesting.
Yeah, your mom said she likes to hike.
Put a bunch of videos and pictures up on the
I'd
thing.
like to see where she hikes and stuff too.
Oh yeah, you guys have to go hiking together. That's all she does. Hike. She loves arrowhead hunting. That's her favorite thing. She hikes all summer long, and then the winter we get fat and boring.
Well, the weather. I mean, I don't mind hiking when it's cold. When
that's how she is.
Not like 5 degrees or something extremely cold. And if I'm going to go somewhere local and it's just for a little while, I leave the bigs at home. But most of the time, if I'm going to hike, the big boys will go with me.
I love that.
So I did not have Chewy. Marlo is so instinctive. He knows all of it because he's deaf. All of his other senses are so in tune. We were in Zaleski Forest, and he saw the bear before I did.
Oh shit!
And Burr Oak has bobcats, and he saw the bobcats before I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and the fox. We saw a fox in Wayne National Forest too.
Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, there's critters all around us, but the bear. Fortunately, the bear was down a ravine and across, and we were upwind, and he never saw us. But yeah, that was something.
That'd be scary.
He doesn't bark. He just was alert.
It's like, oh shit, Mom.
And I'm like, what is he looking at? That's a big, someone's black light.
Oh,
I was like, oh,
bear.
Bear. Yeah.
So you may not see Carla on any more TV paranormal shows, but you may catch her on a trail somewhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what it boils down to?
Absolutely, yeah.
But
there's a lot of places I can go. A lot of places in Missouri, Kansas, Michigan.
Michigan's beautiful.
I still want to go back east. I don't know what the elevation. I
want to go northern Michigan all the way to top.
I'd like to go into. I'd love to go to South Carolina, Charleston, and some places like that. I haven't been out there.
It's beautiful.
I have a trip planned for Maryland already at end of May. I'd love to go to Gettysburg again.
I want to go back to the Smokies and hike.
Went to Gettysburg, and it was Eric and I. Shaq was with us. And a lot of people always talk about on the bloody Antietam on the bloody road there. They always talk about cannons and stuff. And it was dusk. The park was about to close. There was nobody else there. It was Eric and I could hear the cannons and the musket fire.
Wow.
I could hear it. And I actually, being the paranormal person that I am, grabbed my recorder out of the car. And we got some of it on.
What investigated?
It was just at the very end of the day right there. I'd heard people had heard it and stuff before. I didn't see anything, but I could hear the cannons and the musket fire. It was the most amazing thing in the world.
Wow, I bet that sent chills down your spine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
But this podcast show will, of course, be on my YouTube page. I
feel like we got off a little bit too much on.
No, I had a list of questions that I wanted for sure to ask. You already covered them. I didn't even have to ask half the questions. So, no, people, when they see you on TV, they hear about your paranormal stuff. They want to know more about you, like more what things you do that's not paranormal. So this is all perfect. So I had some friends like, well, she likes hiking. I want to know more about that. So you already covered. You did a good job. But tonight, we're going to do investigation. I'm going to record some stuff. So some of that stuff will be on my page. And then the rest will be just stories that we will eventually tell.
See what's over there in this house.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for coming on
Absolutely.
my show.
Absolutely.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.